This is WLNS TV, WLNS DT Lansing. Now, from your news leader, this is 6 News at 11.
It would not be a day to celebrate. It might be a day to have some scotch and some beer. We are entering uncharted waters with GM.
General Motors stock plummeting to a low not seen since the Great Depression. GM stock closing today on the New York Exchange at just 75 cents a share, the first time the automaker has closed below $1 since 1933, all as the company prepares for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on Monday. Allison Himoho explains what that means for those who still own shares in General Motors.
It's a sound that rings sour today for all GM stockholders, marking the end of what might possibly be the company's worst day on Wall Street.
They should have sold it yesterday or today or 5 weeks ago.
Ted Feight studies the markets all day, every day. He says come Monday there will be nothing to report on GM's highs and lows.
It's gone. They are in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is 30 stocks, and they will be gone.
Which is why Feight says investors should have been long gone months ago.
The stock is going to be worthless. It's not going to be worth anything because there's not going to be enough assets to cover the things that they have to cover.
Feight says sometimes when companies file Chapter 11, they emerge strong enough to pay some return to stockholders. But in this case, GM has too much debt.
Way down the line are the stockholders. They're the last one to get anything, if there's anything left. And there's not going to be anything left.
Feight says the good news is most people that have 401ks with the company were told to sell their stock 3 months ago, and they did. But for GM's retirees, the outlook's not so bright.
401k is safe because it's an entirely segregated type of thing, but their pension itself is not necessarily safe.
But now that the closing bell has rung, Feight says the only thing left to do is sit back and wait for bankruptcy to begin. Allison Himoho, 6 News.
GM's bankruptcy filing will be one of the largest cases in U.S. history, but some experts believe there is good reason for optimism. The company will head to court Monday morning with a number of critical pieces already in place, including concession deals with workers, an agreement with bondholders to swap debt for equity. GM is expected to follow Chrysler's lead and use the court process as a way to shed some of its parts.
They've looked at the Saturns, they've looked at the Hummers over the last 10 years and said, this is not profitable. Buicks, Cadillacs, Chevrolet, we can make money on those. We have to eliminate these bad, unprofitable companies, and that's what they're doing.
Experts say the speed with which Chrysler case has moved through should also be an encouraging sign for GM. Some predict the automaker could exit bankruptcy as quickly as 60 to 90 days.
Union workers say they're doing what they can to save the automaker by approving a deal today with General Motors. UAW's President Ron Gettelfinger announcing that 74% of GM's hourly workers have given the go-ahead to that deal. Local union members were right on par with the national results. 78% of Local 652 workers voted yes, 22% said no, and at Local 602, 70% gave the thumbs up, 30% declined the new deal.
President Obama thinks that GM is making progress on its restructuring. Today, White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs says the president will not speculate on whether the automaker would be able to avoid bankruptcy, but says they're seeing encouraging signs from GM. If General Motors files for bankruptcy, the government will then become a major stakeholder in the company. But Gibbs says the president wants to get both GM and Chrysler back on their feet as soon as possible.
And I think his goal is not to be a long-term holder of GM or Chrysler's equity, but instead to work on that restructuring, to get it on a path and to get it moving again.
Oh, there is some good news tonight for General Motors. A deal has been reached to sell its Opel unit to Canadian auto parts maker Magna International. That according to Germany's finance minister, who says the plan came out of a high-level meeting today in Berlin. The agreement will put Opel under the care of a trustee while the German government provides a bridge loan, the equivalent of $2.1 billion US. That move would work to shield Opel from GM's likely bankruptcy filing.
Chrysler is dealing with its own bankruptcy filing after round 3 in court today stretched 11 hours long. Now, the struggling automaker wants a bankruptcy judge to approve a merger with Fiat. If the judge agrees, an appeal will likely follow from lawyers representing Indiana State Pension and construction funds. The judge says he'll make his ruling on Monday. Stay with 6 News. We'll have all the latest information on both Chrysler and GM.